Good evening, and welcome to Nightly Chats with Alan and Eric. I'm your host, Alan Wrights, and this is my colleague, Eric Holmvik. Tonight, we'll be discussing the SEC's recent 3-2 upholding of its net neutrality law, and the implications that has for the future of the internet and all of those who use it.
Yeah, and before we delve too deep, we just want to give a brief definition of what net neutrality is. And so net neutrality is this principle that ISPs, or internet service providers, should enable access to all content and applications on the internet, regardless of their source, and without favoring or blocking particular products or websites. And so ways they can do that is by throttling speeds for companies that may not want to pay the internet service provider a premium, or charging extra for data from Europe or Asia. And basically, the net neutrality gets at that all data on the internet, regardless of where it comes from or how it's structured, is created equal and should be treated as such.
Up until a week ago, net neutrality had been under question in courts of law, based on the rapid expansion of mobile markets and the many new forms that the internet has taken on over the years. Last week's ruling by the Federal Communications Commission reinstated the legal grounding for net neutrality. It classified the internet as a utility, similar to water or electricity. This is a tremendous victory for all who make use of the internet.
Yeah. Can you imagine if all of a sudden it became, or how frustrating it would be if all of a sudden water became more expensive to use after 6 p.m., or perhaps if electricity and natural gas were sold at a premium during summer and winter months when heating and cooling homes became necessary. And not because there's a scarcity of either of those resources, but just because they're in higher demand. That would be completely outrageous. But because they're classified as a utility, they're protected under government law and antitrust, and their prices are federally regulated. However, these two giants are not.
Comcast and Verizon currently operate as a duopoly for broadband service. Should they be allowed to price discriminate and conduct other economic tactics typical of monopolies? We think not. If they are granted this, it would stifle investment, distort innovation, and ultimately cause the market harm.
Yeah, I mean, that's always been sort of the startup argument, is that if you want innovation, if you want more, great new companies, if you want the next Facebook to happen, you can't give this benefit to the incumbents by saying, oh, there's no data charge. Increasingly, we'll be paying for things, by the gigabyte, and so people will be sort of prioritized to use whatever's free.
Exactly. And so the FCC's new rules are still a little bit vague around this, around what will fly and what won't fly. It said that it's happy to have companies go up to it and say, hey, is this going to be okay? But as far as something like sponsored data goes, it has said explicitly that's definitely not going to be okay. And so I think we probably are going to see a lot less of services like that.
And then
you might be wondering what the big fuss about price discrimination and net neutrality is. After all, markets for other essential goods like oil experience price discrimination all the time. The main difference, however, is that other goods necessary to society, such as petroleum, experience a higher degree of competition because more than 2 firms are present and do not operate as a cartel, thus keeping prices at a reasonable level through a limited model of pure competition. What net neutrality is really aiming to control more so than this discrimination is the creation of fast and slow lanes for internet speed, which poses potential threats to any companies or websites trying to get off the ground by slowing them down in comparison to the existing internet titans, which already operate or stream with lightning-fast web speeds. Net neutrality is a good thing because it prevents a duopoly of broadband service providers from practicing unreasonable techniques in the market, such as price discrimination via these artificial and fast and slow lanes of internet service. However, these companies would not have you believe it as such.
When you say fast lane and slow lane, it's a good illustration, but what you really should be talking about is a fast lane for everybody and a hyperspeed lane for others.
The internet is more than just a utility. It breathes life into the economic ideal of pure competition. Its use as a proliferator of fresh genius to smaller companies and individuals is something that should remain unimpeded by current industry titans.
The rules would open the door for the first time for internet providers like Comcast and Verizon to charge tech companies to send content to consumers more quickly. Netflix, for example, might pay a premium to ensure that its customers can stream movies more reliably at a cost a startup competitor might not be able to afford.
No, This cannot happen.
Indeed, Mr. Oliver, this cannot happen.
And thankfully, it didn't. Net neutrality's prevail and actual expansion to encompass more devices ensures the public that the pioneering, innovative ideas spread through the web will continue unhindered. A tremendous and necessary victory for this society.
Indeed. On behalf of my esteemed colleague Eric and I, we thank you for tuning in and bid you good night.
Take care.